Hey, it's Dave from Jamaica.
Yes, that's the Dave.
Hi,
I
Dave.
see 818. I always
Dave.
think you're in California, but
No, that's just me avoiding paying a large phone bill. But the question I was going to, I guess you've seen the Kanye stuff, right? And
the latest Kanye stuff.
yeah, thank you. It kind of reminds me of what kind of happening when I saw the LA City Council stuff, when the exposure of the racism and so on.
Yeah.
Because growing up, of course, Kanye represents the fringe of the fringe, right? So there is that type of stuff in Black conservative communities. But as I said, fringe of the fringe, where they get down to this weird sort of nationalism with little hints of anti-Semitism, though I think Kanye is kind of taking that to the extreme. The belief of Black capitalism is going to save us, because that's basically what I got from it. Because if you peel off all the divorced dad energy, and you get that type of thing, because the people he brought up, Puffy and Jay-Z, and how they're going to, it reeks of Black capitalism is going to save us. We need more Black billionaires nonsense. And I think Kanye thinks he's one of those chosen ones. So,
Oh, yeah.
but the reason why it reminds me of the LA politics stuff is that, I think you heard this on This Is Revolution, and Pascal talks about it, where you have a type of politics where they use their racial background to mask what's actually going on, is where I just want to be the boss, exploit workers.
Right.
It's factionalism, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's essentially dividing and conquer. That's why he's anti-Semitic as well. Is because this group in his bigoted estimation has all the power and the money, and that should be us, as opposed to just like generally, and by us it means him, right, and others like him, but it's not about uplifting people generally. It's about uplifting the people like me, and yeah, right.
It's not a structural critique. It's just that we want to be. We don't have a problem with the way that the system is set up. We have a problem with the fact that we're not the ones to be able to exploit the way the system is set up.
In a funny way, it's kind of very American. They sound like founding fathers. Like, hey, this king thing is horrible. Why don't we take that road?
Right.
If you think about it, it's unique. I wouldn't say, it's very American in that sense, in terms of like the founding fathers type logic to it.
It's also very lean in.
Yeah.
Lean in for Black capitalists.
But I think the part that worries me at first, I remember a Bill Burr joke saying like, well, since Kanye is Black, that, it's not like, what was the term? He won't rise to power, enact these weird things he's stewing around in his head. But the degree of which Kanye is so popular, I can definitely see a lot of conservative leaning people of color kind of, he's speaking the truth, type of nonsense. And it is, I'm just waiting to see what Ben Shapiro's next excuse for Candace Owens and Kanye
Well, I mean,
stuff is going to be.
It's certainly making it a little bit uncomfortable in some of the corners of the commissary, I would imagine.
Well, now they're in business together, literally, right? Because of Candace's husband's owned parlor and just sold it, I guess, at least according to this press release, to Kanye. Who knows if that holds up, but...
Yeah, I think they're going to milk Kanye for all his work. Well,
I mean, Kanye, wasn't he just
so
saying...
they can't really get broke.
I thought he was bankrupt and blaming Mark Zuckerberg for it, which now makes even more sense, but anyway.
But before I go, I guess, on a different unrelated topic, I remember Sam talking about Nick DePaul a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I know this is some true Hollywood story. When I was younger, I used to watch Tough Crowd.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really funny except for Patrice O'Neal, who had
Yep.
pretty bad politics, but he was genuinely funny. Has Nick DiPaolo ever made you laugh? Because he seems like one of those, what you call those sucker fish that attach to like a shark. And, you know, he gets a laugh by proxy.
Parasites?
Patrice. Yeah.
And there's like 3 different kinds of parasites, right? What's it called?
I think that my sense is, I mean, I never found Nick particularly funny. I just found him to be a character. But I think that a lot of people, I think like there were comedians. I mean, that show following 9/11, I feel like Colin Quinn got a little bit like, a little bit. There was a syndrome.
Yes.
For people
I know
sort of like situated like a Colin, who after 9/11 got like, a little bit, I don't know. There was almost like it was almost like a test of masculinity in a weird way. I don't know. It was a weird time. And I remember arguing with Colin quite a bit during that time. And then I haven't quite followed where he is since then. But I think there was a lot of people who of that ilk who thought that Nick was funny and just assumed he was joking. You know what I mean?
I don't know why people would assume that. I thought he was funny by proxy because he's the type of guy for me, his jokes only worked after, kind of unwinding off of somebody else.
Yeah, I think there's that. But people find that funny. All right.
All right. Before last thing, and I'm off. So he's never made you go. He never got a good gut laugh out of you. That's all I want to know.
Well, I'll tell you when I got the best gut laugh from him was when I told that story when I had hired him to be in Beat Cops because he was supposed to play a toughy cop and be pushing me and John Benjamin around. And the funniest thing that he said was we were on set, and he was telling me that he was moving back to New York because in LA you can't get a job if you're a white guy. And that almost made me like literally spit coffee out of my nose.
Unintentionally funny, conservative, stable.
I mean, I just remember going like, and then just like, oh my God, he's serious. Like, like he's not joking. And I had done in the previous 4 or 5 years, like 4 sitcoms with an exact like toughy Italian guy as like the friend. Like it was such like, and I later realized like why he was not getting cast. He's not good at acting.
Yeah.
Appreciate the call, Dave.
Later. Thanks, guys.
I mean, fortunately, I shot in a way that I was like, at the time, this is going to seem, completely hackney now, but this was 4 years ago. I shot it like it was a mock of homicide. And so when you're swinging the camera around like that, and you have the ability to just take complete quick snippets of everything, and because he could not make, the part was so in his wheelhouse to play a tough guy who is intimidating 2 loser cops, and he's the tough cop. And he couldn't improv. He couldn't, it was just, I cut around it a lot.
And the idea that, I feel like it was a prerequisite in any 90s sitcom that you had to have, an Italian guy going, hey, right?
It was just like there was always something valuable about having a guy who would talk like this,
Right.
We had one in Guy Island. We had one in, we had multiple ones in Guy Island. I mean, it was just...
That's a thing. Yeah.
Oh, he plays Joey the cop in an episode of The Sopranos.
Yeah, I mean, he's so typecast, but they had him. I'm sure that was one of those situations where oh shit, let's just shoot around him.